Hello and welcome to the Young Film Academy podcast, the essential podcast for teenagers looking to find their way into the creative industries. My name's Dan Allen and joining me is James Walker. How's it going?
And today, I'm very good, Dan. I always want to jump in with the thing. Just get to the thing.
Let me let me say the words.
Enough about
the
me.
movie.
My name is just, let's move past that. So today we are talking about special effects makeup. SFX makeup. It's quite hard to say.
Yes.
SFX makeup. And it is kind of like this sort of a bit of a hidden world, isn't it, Dan? I mean,
Yes.
there's loads of it. Every big show, especially, has tons of people working in this area. But maybe if you're a young person listening to this podcast, you're out there, this isn't an area you know loads about. Did you know much about this area when you were a teenager, Dan?
No, I knew about chucking blood on things as just trying to make sort of darkish movies, but I didn't know about this world. I think I was always confused because you had like VFX, SFX, and special effects. Do you know what I mean? And obviously this is within the world of special effects, which means it's in person. Visual effects meaning it's digital and on the computer. Special effects is like real and something you film. But obviously SFX makeup, which we're specifically looking at, is that sort of art of applying it to a human, right?
Yeah, putting stuff onto a human being to make them look whatever you're making them look.
Whatever you're doing. And in regards to like Natalie, who we're going to speak to, she it might even look like applying stuff to someone so they look like Chewbacca, as in literal Chewbacca from Star Wars.
Not Chewbacca from Star Wars.
Chewbacca from Star Wars. We are speaking to the person who is responsible for making Chewbacca's locks look fantastic. Chewie, yeah, 100%.
This is
working
great.
on the Han Solo movie.
This is going to be great. Well, let's let her tell this story. Then let's hear from her, as opposed to hearing about her career from you.
I'm so excited.
Let's hear from her. So, delighted to welcome to the show Natalie Wickens.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
Great to have you with us, Nat. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us. I'm super excited about this because I want to catch up with some of the amazing stuff that you've been working on, because I know you've been doing some super cool stuff. And also because so much of what you do, I think, is a little bit of a hidden area for young people looking to join this. And I really would love this session to sort of put the spotlight on this area, because I think it's actually so much fun. I think that when you hear about it as a young person, you can't help yourself but go, oh my God, I want to do that. I want to do all that super fun stuff. So let's start off, Nat, with kind of maybe what is kind of special effects makeup in the way that you do it? Like how do you describe what you do?
So what I'd say is that makeup effects and special effects makeup is more to do with the wounds and the bald caps or aging makeups and, things that can add to, the circumstances that they go through in their story of a film. But it, like you said, it's not something I would have found by myself. I just kind of looking for it. I just stumbled into it, to be honest. So I think it's definitely something worth spreading the news about, letting people know what it is. And it is really fun to do. If you love the gore and the horror movies and, all of the things to do with all the fun parts, I think it's more fun when you go from doing makeup effects to doing hair and basic makeup. And there can be a lot of panic around a look that is basic makeup or a hair or a beauty makeup. And after you've done makeup effects and prosthetics, you sort of see like actually a lot of things are made to look like rocket science, and they're not actually. They're a lot more simple after you've done something so complicated, and they're a bit more of a scary makeup. You can create a lot more monsters. And so kids that are in their rooms, like when they're young, like usually sculpting or making monsters and things like that. A lot of the guys that are working with me now have come from that background where they spent a lot of time in their room, like just enjoying making monsters and sculpting creatures and things like that. And they've ended up in this world of doing it full time as a job.
It's so fun, isn't it? It's quite, because you're right.
Yeah.
There's such a connection to what we as young people and as kids, actually. My kids, they go mental for like, my kids are sort of 5 and 3, but they get Play-Doh, anything they can make, monsters, designing them, they love all that stuff. And this is kind of like getting to do all that fun stuff, but actually being paid for it and having a job doing it.
Absolutely. Like you want to choose something you love, don't you? Because then everything else follows, the money follows, and you don't really work a day in your life. But I was always told to choose, my dad always said, or my mum, you know, choose something you love, get really, really good at it, and the money will follow. Never chase the money.
Such a good bit of advice. Follow your passion, and then you'll be a happy person. And so, Nat, give us a sense, because you've had an amazing career, and you're right in the middle of it. You're doing some amazing work. But let's just throw out a few names of the kinds of shows that you've worked on. I mean, I know that you and I talked a little bit on a previous session that we did, that we will end up actually in another podcast. We talked a little bit about your work on Star Wars that you did. And so just to throw a few names out so kind of young listeners can get a sense of the kind of things you've been working on.
Okay. So obviously I did Star Wars for 5 years. Before that I was doing a lot of Doctor Who, creatures and things. Then we did Star Wars for 5 years, making Chewbacca and other creatures and prosthetic aliens. And then moved on to Witches, which was the remake of the TV show, of the film from our era, I think.
It was the one based on Roald Dahl's book.
Roald Dahl, that's it.
Amazing.
Yeah. With loads of bald caps and things. My witch was the one that got blown out of her chair, basically. But so I was only there until she died. Yeah, my witch.
My witch.
I was only there until she died, and then I just went into the crowd to help out with all of the bald caps.
It's a sad day for both of you. You both just had to love it.
Yeah,
that dynamite.
Yeah, we're both written out. Yeah, and then after I did that, I sort of moved on to The Witcher. I did a lot of films before lockdown, but then I was doing a bit of Holby City to get a bit of prosthetic sort of knowledge on wounds and building bodies and operations, because then you get a bit more knowledge on what happens when the people have a burn or something like that. So after that, I then went on to do what was it? So after Holby City, lockdown came in, and then I went on to The Witcher after that, season 2.
That's the Netflix show.
A lot of the Netflix show. Did a lot of work with all the witches. And
did you have an assigned witch on The Witcher?
I had. We kind of did every Witcher. We ended up in everybody's chair. We all did a bit of everyone. I had one called Talbot a lot, and then Lambert towards the end. Like, we all sort of made sure that everybody knew everyone's look, because if anyone got COVID, then we could do anyone. Which is kind of how it works now at the moment. But then I did.
So you all having to. Does that mean you're having to be more comprehensive? Because I know obviously, like, part of the process, right, is like you'll do someone's effects or makeup, and you have to take lots of reference pictures. But do the reference pictures have to go to the next level because you're now conscious that everyone has to be able to sort of pick that up?
Yeah. So basically, at the moment, now we have a system called Sync on Set, where all of our photos, all of our notes, we all take them and we add our notes to this app called Sync on Set, and then everybody has, across the whole production, has access to it, and everybody can go to costume or makeup, and the producers can view what's happening with our continuity as well if they need to, so they can see we're on top of it. And then anybody that gets your character just logs in Sync on Set, that episode, that scene, and can view what the characters look like and all the notes for that scene if they're doing like a pickup or anything for the next episode that's direct continuity.
That's so cool. That's another great example of how sort of COVID actually has produced some real innovation. Do you know what I mean? Like, that probably wouldn't have existed without COVID. Wouldn't have been necessary.
Which is amazing.
Sorry, and then after The Witcher?
After The Witcher, I did Game of Thrones. No, after The Witcher, I went straight on to a job in Belfast for 4 months doing The School for Good and Evil, which is a series of 7 books. And this is the first book turned into a film, and it's coming out on Netflix. And it's about, there's a magical land called the School for Good and the School for Evil, 2 schools that exist in the magical land. And then who is it? The head of the schools is Kerry Washington's the head of the School for Good, and Charlize Theron is the head of the School for Evil. And then all the kids are like graduate princes and princesses in the School for Good, and the School for Evil are graduate evil people. And there's a historian that writes the story, and you have to see out your story to the end to be able to graduate, basically, which means finding your prince or princess or evil winning the battle, basically. So it's basically they're both pitted against each other.
That sounds so cool. Is that out yet, or is that coming out soon?
No.
I haven't heard anything about it.
I know. I hope it comes out soon. It's being directed. It was directed by Paul Figg, who did Bridesmaids. So it's very comedy orientated. Like the girls are going to school to learn how to be like, they're going to beautification class to learn how to, have their perfect smile to attract their perfect prince. And outside, the princes are learning how to climb Rapunzel hair. And there's a prince that's really bad at being a prince. And,
you said it's 7 books, so is it a TV show? Like, is it 7 episodes or?
So no, it's going to be 1 film per book, like Harry Potter.
And you were filming just the first one?
Yeah.
For 7 months?
We filmed it for 4 months.
Okay.
About 4 months. Yeah.
Okay.
But they'll come back round soon and start the next one, I think.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah.
And so, Nat, let's just take like Game of Thrones, for example. So you arrive on set on Game of Thrones. Give us a flavour of what is a day in the life of Natalie Wickens on a set. What are you doing? Give us a sense.
So I get in, we're half an hour before my makeup. Normally the night before we get sent our call sheet and we check where our names are next to which actor we're going to be working with that day. Sometimes it will depend on if my boss is available to do the actors she wants to do, or if she can't fit in the ones she wants to do, she'll pass one on to me or somebody else in the team. And then you get your makeup in your chair and then you do your hair, your makeup, or we put like on Game of Thrones, it was a lot of bald caps under white wigs, which were made by, my friend did loads of tests in the beginning, gave to the trainees, did all of the making of the bald caps, from the whole way through the filming for 7 months or longer. I think they went for a year actually, but then to make it specific to each person's head shape, because we had a lot of Targaryen characters. So we put we pair prep, put the bald cap on, glue it down, dissolve all the edges, paint it up, put the wig on, and then the hairstylist or myself would style their hair. And then, then we go down, we wait to go down to set, have breakfast, go down to set, film for on and off, depending on, they work out their shots. They have stand-ins for lighting their scenes, and then they work out what they're gonna film first, do rehearsal with the actors, then they step them off, and then they step in the stand-ins, they get lit, do all their lighting and everything, and then they bring the actors back in for a final rehearsal, and then they go for takes, and we do that all day just to try and get through as many shots as they've got planned for that day.
And you're touching them up as they go, touching up in a sort of hair and makeup sense?
Yeah, so throughout the day, they're not easy to look after all the time. So sometimes they hate their hair being tied like quite tight under their wigs, and it's not comfortable. And a lot of the time you find like a trail of pins where the actor's been taking their pins out and scratching their head and then putting them down, and they're everywhere. Like it's like a little trail of crumbs. So yeah. They're quite hard work, and then they hate it. But by the at first, they're a little bit reluctant to let you do your job, and your continuity are saying, we need more sweat, we need more this, and then you've got an actor like that, we don't need that, and then so you've got to compromise between everybody and make sure that they can trust that you're going to put what they need first as well, and make sure you can do a good job so that it looks good in the takes. But after that, after a little while, they start coming over to you because they respect what you need to do, and you build a relationship, and they sort of warm up and get a bit more into it. I think it's like it just takes a few days or a few weeks, a bit of time sometimes, but yeah, it's really fun.
And do you have zombies on that show as well? The kind of the equivalent of the Army of the Dead, is that a part of it?
We don't. No.
Interesting, because you have done a lot of work with sort of zombie type things, haven't you?
James is trying to pry spoilers, I think, from the new Game of Thrones. He's trying to see the White Walkers are back. I see what you're doing, James.
Damn.
Yeah, I've done a lot of zombies, but I haven't, not on this one. I have a lot of friends that did it on the previous ones, but yeah, that looked like fun makeup, so I would love to do some of those makeups. But,
That's so cool.
I was wondering where sort of your remit sort of ends, and because you mentioned the people that sort of do like the monster prosthetics and stuff like that, like the people that sort of maybe when they were younger just spent time designing those monsters and now they're sort of making them. Where does sort of their line of work end and where does yours begin? Like, what's the crossover? I wondered.
So I guess what they where they start is with concept art. So a director will have a discussion with our boss, the creature effects designer or makeup designer, and they'll all discuss the kind of looks they want. And after reading a script and everything, you can see what's there. You start to come up with designs that you think they might like. And a lot of those people are really good artists, and they can draw up all these amazing concepts of monsters, creatures, prosthetics, things that also fall under makeup more than creatures. But then there's a bit of a debate later between departments on who that belongs to, but where egos come in. But yeah, so basically we then have a meeting with the director, producers and everybody, and they all come in and look around the room at all of the concept art, and they say, we want 2 of these and 3 of those and, 1 of those. And then when they've got the looks signed off and the image signed off, then the person that drew it, did the drawing, will go to start sculptures to pull them together out of clay to see what it looks like. And then what we did was made up a full version of the creature that's then moved by puppeteers or used by animatronics under the skin to make the facial expressions move and things like that, and the blinks, and make it seem like it's real. And a lot of the time they would use computer technology to a friend of mine that made BB-8. He used computer technology to talk into a computer where it would scan his facial expressions, and the creature next to it was doing everything he did. It was absolutely amazing.
Wow. So it was live. So you could almost have someone acting live and then the creature's mimicking that.
Mimicking it. It was unbelievable. And it looked so real, like he was pretending to eat and it looked like it was eating, it was amazing. But, and then after that, we do like a show and tell where the director comes in with the producers and walks around, and we have like all the creatures being puppeteered to act out something just to show them what they can do. And then if they like it, they sign it off and they're happy for us to go with that for the film.
And how long is that process? Because I'm thinking if the director turns up and the director and producer take a look and go, well, if they want some adjustments or it for some reason in person doesn't look or feel the same as maybe in the concept art, how much time have you then got to go back to the drawing board,
Depends. There's been times where we've had months. When we first made Chewie, he wasn't quite right.
Chewbacca
there was
from
a lot
Star Wars.
Chewbacca. Yeah, he's not quite perfect straight away. It took time to really get his look, and
so you can just go and get open up the old sort of closet. I was trying to think of the studio. Who publishes Star Wars? Well, obviously Disney now. But you can't go to the Lucasfilm vaults and
that's it.
There's the Chewbacca costume from way back when.
It's protected in Texas. I think in a ranch called the Lucasfilm Ranch, and we did have one person go and have a look at all the suits and all the old costumes. But the problem is to get the colours right and things like that. But the thing is that they're all starting to decay. Some of the, his face was made out of foam latex and it doesn't last over time. Sunlight can destroy it as well over years and years and things like that. But I think once we got that look, changed about over 6 months maybe before we were ready to go with the one that was signed off. But then with other characters on Solo, I had a character that we were trying to get right overnight, and we showed it to them at 5 p.m, 6 p.m. the night before shoot, and they said, actually, we want more. We need to change it a lot. So we ended up just changing it all night. Like we didn't go home. So just that happens a lot as well, the night before shoot. And then they changed the actor. So they changed him to Paul Bettany because they needed reshoots because the directors got fired, and then they couldn't reshoot with the same actor.
So you're constantly, we use this phrase in the industry, it's like you make a movie is like shooting an avalanche whilst you're standing on an avalanche. You know, you're trying to sort of, and you're constantly adapting to something that's constantly adapting, you know.
Yeah, that's how it feels, yeah. It's
that's crazy.
Change.
And I suppose that, you know, one of the features of working on these big shows is, I suppose, the length of time that you just spend in a particular place. Like, you know, you're in Belfast for 4 months, but you don't live in Belfast. So how's that aspect of it as a career and a lifestyle?
That can be really fun, because a lot of the time you're with people you really enjoy spending time with. You know, there's always a lot of friends nearby. While I was filming School for Good and Evil, I love my team, but a lot of them went home at the weekends to see their families. So I have a lot of friends from the prosthetic team of Dungeons and Dragons, and they were filming at the same time and all staying 5 minutes away. So I spent most of my time in their bar. So like, it's a lot of fun. You know, to be out there. It means your life's on hold, but it works out for a little bit because you're forced to just enjoy life wherever you are for a bit. You don't have all those, you know, grumpy adult life things that come in every day. You get a little bit of time off, I guess. But then because you're intensely working and the pressure's on, and sometimes you want to be getting on with life, that is quite hard. But it's nice to see another country though.
Yeah, totally. And you must travel and see a lot when you're doing those, and you're traveling all over. You know, I think you mentioned you were going to Spain and Portugal or further afield for all these projects, because you just have to go wherever the shoot goes. And how many can be working? Give us a sense now of, because again, this is this thing about it's like the hidden world of these things, you know, and I know how big these teams get, but give us a sense on one of these shows, you know, roughly how many people are in the, you know, the wider kind of makeup SFX prosthetics team? Like how many people physically might there be working?
I mean, in Creature Effects, there was like hundreds of us, from concept artists, sculptors, mold makers, fiberglassing and foam runners, fabricators, hair people, and people in the office dealing with coordination. There was a lot, but and painters as well. But when there's teams in each department of those, so there was hundreds and hundreds. But when it came down to hair and makeup, there's like 10 of us, or you know, it can work out to more. And then there's hundreds in the crowd room, or a lot of people dealing with stunt departments. So at the moment, I was just doing some dailies on Napoleon, and
what's a daily? What do you mean?
Daily means you're not on contract, so you can dip in and out. So I can say I'm available for 3 days, but I don't need to work the whole week. So I get a bit more freedom. But also in that sense, you might not get hired as much because core team are there full time. So if you want full-time work, you know, it's sometimes hard to get picked to do contracts, but you can choose to do dailies if you need a bit of life outside of work as well for life balance. And it's, you know, it's good work. It's really fun, and you don't have to be a part of any kind of stress really that's going on within the team. So I just come in and do loads of stuntmen basically in the stunt department. And then there's like hundreds of people in crowd, but maybe 20 of us just doing stunts. So anybody with, looks like a stunt double of Marie Antoinette, or a stunt double of lots of footmen, soldiers and people in the army basically that work for Napoleon and things like that. So they all have like, you know, those white wigs with the rolls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or like lots of like shaggy hairstyles and ponytails and things like that. Yeah.
So, I mean, big teams. So, I mean, you're talking about hundreds of people potentially on the really big shoots. You're talking about hundreds of people in these overall bigger departments. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I was listening to this and I was a teenager and I'm thinking, you know, what would I be interested in that, you know, later down the line might mean I would be working in one of these departments? Like, what kind of backgrounds do these people do? What have they studied? Is there any route in that you can talk about, or is it a bit random?
People have come from everywhere. It seems that within the hair and makeup industry, a lot of people started as hairdressers or
interesting.
Yeah, because if you want to be within hair and makeup, hair's really important. because a lot of makeup, like you can do a course in makeup and then go and apply it and learn a bit more on the job as you go. Lots of things can apply there to, learning as you go. But with hair, to be speedy, like it's so important to get somebody out of the chair on time, and hair can really, like, you need to know your foundations, have really good strong foundations in the skill, and be able to have that practice. Yeah. I think if people should be learning hair, I think, if they want some help. But I think also when they cut, a lot of people that come in from costume and things like that have done like the London LCF, London College of Fashion courses. A lot of the people that do makeup go to London College of Fashion and do a course there, but or Grease Paint or Ivor Academy, Delamar. There's a lot of good makeup schools out there, but Christine Blundell. But I think if you wanted to do hair, you might need to do that as a separate course. Just learn hair anywhere, it doesn't matter. Just get some skills under your belt with that. With costume, I think it's good to, a lot of people seem to dip between creatures and creatures prosthetics, SFX, and costume on people. So like costume could be building for a creature or for building for a person. You can dip in different avenues. If you do prosthetic makeups, a lot of the time you can do painting as well. So you can jump around departments with your skills a lot, and props and things like that. But with somewhere to start.
About the mold makers you mentioned, for instance, those quite technical. Like, how would you end up being a mold maker on? If you say, I'm on Game of Thrones, I'm a mold maker. I mean, how might I give me a sense of what would I have done to get that?
To mold make, I mean, a lot of the people, if they're learning mold making, they seem to end up doing the Neil Gorton makeup prosthetics course, because he teaches you how to mold make. But I don't know how they've come to the idea that they wanted to mold make. I think what happens is you end up going into do work experience. A lot of the time, how I found out was I wanted to work in film because my dad was working in film, doing background work sometimes, an essay, supporting artist work, because our next door neighbour was a cameraman for EastEnders. So I think the connection usually is in where you've heard about it enough to suddenly show an interest in something that's quite interesting. It's quite hard, isn't it? Because a lot of the time, everybody finds out through somebody that they know. And a lot of the hair and makeup teams, even Harry Potter, I discovered got in through somebody that was working on one of the films that the boss knew was like, their brother or their parent or somebody, and that got them in. So that does happen a lot. But I didn't really, my dad couldn't get me in, but he showed me an interest in it. But I had to go and hustle to get work in the film industry. And it shows that you can do that. It does work out for people that don't have a family member in the industry, So in the end, I think
we've lost you there.
I sort of called up the prosthetic department on Harry Potter and hair and makeup, and heard they take on trainees. And then I got a work experience, and then I learned what mold making was at that point, because they put you in a bit of everywhere. So getting a bit of work experience somewhere does open your eyes up to where you might like to be.
Well, I think that's such an interesting point, because I think, and this is not specific just to this area, but almost there's so many different areas of filmmaking that when you're a young person, you don't know about. Because, I mean, even we are learning through doing this podcast. We're talking to sort of specialists in each of these areas. And then you learn that there are all these different roles that exist in each of these specialist areas that even after years in industry, you don't know exist. So I think from a young person's perspective, they think, what do I want to do? Well, they're not even aware of all the things they can do. So I think what you're saying is really interesting, which is you sort of choose an area that you're kind of vaguely interested in. And then if you can try and get on a set, that allows you to watch what other people are doing. And then you naturally sort of go, oh, what are they doing? That looks interesting. And your own internal character then draws you to something that you probably didn't even knew existed.
Yeah, and it's worth it. Go talk to them, ask them as many questions as you like. They're happy to teach. Everyone likes to teach and pass their knowledge on. They're quite keen to let everybody know, what you could do to get better at this, because they like it if you seem keen to know about their skill. So yeah, that really helps. goes
I
along
wondered
with.
about sort of the evolution of it, because obviously by the sounds of it, you've got a lot of people in your line of work that are really multi-skilled and can do lots of different things really well. Do people generally go into the industry with that good understanding? Obviously, you were fortunate to have that work experience. So you got to see the way the different elements of the job work and the different departments and what they're offering. But from your experience and the people you've spoken to, do they generally go in specializing in one thing and then add the skills down the line? And if they do that, how does that work? Do they have to take time out work and go and do a course, or are they learning on the job and they're just trusted because they've already delivered some stuff in different departments?
So, okay, yeah. So definitely, I mean, a lot of people do end up sort of adapting what they started from and move on to other things. What you realize as you go on is if there is something that you want to be better at, it is worth it going and doing little workshops here and there to add to your skills, because you notice a lot of people, sometimes a lot of designers at the top might not always go out and of their comfort zone of what they're supposed to know, everybody sees what they know and they think they're meant to know everything, and they feel it is a little bit difficult for them to step out and go learn something new to, adapt their skills and things like that, because of who they are as a person and a name. Everyone will know that it looked like that person didn't know because they went and did a little bit of a course in something. But actually that's the key to staying relevant in the industry, because it changes all the time. So recently I realized that my skills weren't advanced enough in Afro hair, and it wasn't a part of my course enough for me to understand what they need when they sit in my chair. We had somebody in the makeup chair that hadn't had the best experience in a past job because her hair, like, nobody knew what to do with it, and meant she didn't look her best and didn't feel her best. And I felt like I wouldn't want somebody going out not feeling their best because I'm trying to get by thinking I know, but really it is worth just getting all that knowledge together so that you feel you can make them feel confident in your chair, so that you can send them out looking their best. I'd hate if somebody didn't look their best because my skills weren't good enough. So it's always like, as you get to different parts of your career, you think, oh, okay, that bit's not good enough. I need to go back and do a little workshop in just gaining some more knowledge and skill, practice it, and then apply it to my next job. But sometimes there's, you could go and learn everything again, and you won't have a film. You'll have a film that's just about 1920s hair, and you won't be using all the other skills. And then you've got to go back and check all those skills again when the next job comes in, because you'll always have a bit of anxiety about something you haven't done for a while. And it's always worth, just a little bit of practice. A lot of things come back, or a lot of your knowledge kicks in like an instinct as you go. But there are skills that you do need to like top up. And actually, when you know something, but you're learning it again, you learn to another level, because you're taking in information that you wouldn't take in before when you're learning from the base level of what you're learning. You're learning foundations, but when you're learning it again on top, you're learning to perfect this skill. Is quite amazing. There is like an addiction to learning.
Yeah. And you're talking of skills, because obviously you can train in those hard skills of particular things, but there's also loads of soft skills, right? I mean, I know from my experience as a producer that actually the makeup departments, in their wider context, whether it's prosthetics or sort of standard makeup, the actors are spending so much time in those departments that actually they're like therapy rooms, right? They're kind of like, and that there's so much to do with the morale of the actors that's really important, how that environment is created. So what sort of, I was listening to this, I'm a young person, what sort of soft skills, what kind of a person do you need to be aside from the hard skills you need?
So everybody, they look forward to coming into the makeup room, makeup trailers. It is like their sanctuary, because they get to build up themselves or be calm before they have to go out and deal with the day, or, go through their lines. Sometimes you have to read the room. You can talk to them if they're in a mood for talking, but if they really want to sit there and they're reading their lines, it's best not to talk to them. Let them focus and just get on with your job. But also, if things go wrong, never let them know it's going wrong. Or sometimes, if it's not quite going to plan, you can make jokes with them, because you're like, it can be quite fun and banter. But sometimes it's best just to always remain calm, like the swan on the river. Like a lot of the time you feel like you're in a panic on the inside, but actually everything's fine. And then they go out the door and you step on set and you're like, I have no idea how it looks that good today. So, you know, that can happen. That happens to all of us all the time. But it is really good to be able to, you know, talk to them and be about them. They love it when you're about them and you're not always about you. Be aware that, you know, you're interested in their lives and what's going on for them, but not making them feel exhausted when they leave the room as well. Sort of build up their energy. So a lot of the time they do come to you for banter. They get a lot of energy from bouncing off of you throughout the day as well on set. When you come in and talk to them, it can break up their feeling of stress as well, because you can bring them back into being grounded in reality. It's like, you know, when we're anxious and we're all stuck in our heads, and you just sort of like go in and talk about something else or have a bit of a laugh with somebody, you can make somebody feel a little bit less stressed. But psychology is quite useful.
I think that's so interesting, the psychology of actors especially, because, you know, they can be a little delicate, you know, we all understand that. There's a certain, you know, their skills are so important. And I mean, I'm reminded of, so David Fincher, the director, talks about, in a completely different context, he talks about the danger of digital is that actors can say, oh, can I watch back what we just shot? And actually, when you're working on film, basically you can say, no, sorry, we just can't do that. But on digital, it's very easy. You just go click, click, and then they can watch it back.
Yeah.
And he said he stopped doing it because he realized that the actors were often, and especially if you're working with some big actors, you know, you can't really say no. But he said, I now do, because he said all they're looking at is their hair. Basically, he said, so I realized they're not actually looking at the emotional impact of their performance or the scene. They're literally just looking at, does their hair look good? And then they'll sort of go, oh, can we do another one? And then you see them sort of moving their hair to the side.
Yeah.
So how do you have to deal with that kind of, you know, the understandable individual's vanity, or, you know, you put them into a costume or a mask or something, and they just think it looks rubbish, but actually you're like, sorry, that's kind of like what the director wants. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. Oh, that's hard. That's hard a lot recently as well. Do you know what? The difficult thing is that they all want to have a say in their character's look. Everybody does. And, because they're all quite vocal about what they think their character should be to make them feel in character, things like that. And then there's the director's vision of what they think. But then also there's the hair and makeup designers that have designed the look. So a lot of the time you go back to, this is what was signed off by the director and producers based on the designer's look. And if we go with what an actor wants, then you have to go around your boss, whose, you know, vision is also this look. So there's a lot of egos at play, but I think it's quite important that actors do get a say a little bit in their look, so that they feel, you know, what works for them. They can see it. They can see if it works or if it doesn't work, things like that. They are very interested to be a part of like hair and makeup and things like that, you know, because it's their face and their hair, and it's what's being seen all the time. It's about how you talk to them about it as well, learning how to manage their expectations. And, you know, sometimes you do have to state that it is down to what's signed off by the director, or the producer. So they need to, if they want to have this discussion, then you need to call other people into the room to have that discussion, and you leave it up to them. So I make sure that if they're asking me about it or want to change something, I make sure I flag it up with my boss, the designer, and then she will bring it in producers and director to discuss.
So that it's a group decision. Yeah.
It's a group decision, and I'm not a part of it because
you don't want to take an executive decision and then get it wrong.
Yeah.
and if you know, if for some of our listeners out there who might be going, this sounds great, I want to get into this, let's just do some of the caveats to this. So the first is, if you're not a morning person, this might not be for you, right? Because what timing you guys are, give us an example of some of your call times, which is basically when you have to arrive on set. It's not leaving the house. Yeah. Give us an example of that.
Yeah. So obviously if they want everybody on set for 8:00, for rehearsals, we're in the chair at 6 a.m. So, sometimes 5:30. And then it means, you know, depending on where you live, you have to be, I'm probably up at like 3:30, an alarm at 3:30 in the morning to make sure that I'm there by half an hour before that time for the makeup look.
And we're not talking here now, are we, about sort of once in a blue moon? Yeah, we all understand that. It's like, oh, you're going away, or, you know, something's happening, you need to be up really super early for something. We're talking about like months at a stretch where it's just 3:30 a.m.
Yeah, along. This is this is like months and months. There are times where I've got a really nice boss who sometimes, like, you know, if you could be in later, she might let you know to just come in for the call. If your actor's on that day, or until later that day, or she'll make sure that everybody's got a little bit of a break here and there where we're a bit exhausted. She'll make sure you've got a bit of time back in your trailer to just be organising or doing your continuity, not always on set and doing your prepping. But if you're doing that, you can go home early. So she, you know, if you've got the right boss that looks out for you like that, then you get quite lucky. And then sometimes, you know, she'll let you have days off or when you have life outside of work. But it's rare for that to happen. A lot of the time it's all about the work and you're exhausted, or it's, you know,
yeah, it's hard work. I mean, it's real. It's, yeah, I think that's the thing to say about this stuff. You know, working in the creative industries, it is amazingly fun. You're doing cool stuff that you wanted to do ever since you were a kid, but it's really hard work. You've got to be prepared for that too. And so talking of sort of getting into it, what was your journey in? Like, you know, let's talk about you as a teenager. We always ask our guests, you know, to give us a sense of what was Nat Wickens like as a teenager, and sort of how did you find your way into this?
So as a teenager, I was doing like fine arts at college, and then
that's the slightly obscure version of art, isn't it? Where it's sort of quite abstract.
It's like pure maths.
Yeah, that sounds really dramatic. But it means, like, you know, I was doing it mixed with graphic design as well. But I realized quite quickly computers weren't for me. So I was also really torn between hairdressing and beauty therapy and makeup and things like that. I didn't really know about makeup so much then, but when I was really young, my parents showed me horror movies. Like, I was young. I think they used to call me downstairs and be like, Nat, there's a film about a werewolf. Come watch it. And I was so young.
What sort of age? What
6-year-old Nat's like, come and watch The Ring.
I might have been like, I don't know, like 10, maybe before 7 to 10. I don't know. I remember it being young.
It sounds premature because it's scary when you're a kid, right? Horror films I used to have to watch them with the sound.
Scary now.
And I make horror films, so I still scream audibly. So
yeah, it's really scary. I did watch American Werewolf in London quite young. I'll always remember it. And then I had nightmares, and then my mum told me that they won Oscars for their makeup to try and stop my nightmares. And then I didn't really know what that was, but I think that might have planted a little seed, maybe. Because all of a sudden it's like you're looking for something, but you haven't found it yet for years of what you're meant to be doing here. And then I saw Alien as well, I think.
Oh my God.
But I did end up doing the fine art degree. I think before that, I was working in a hairdresser's on a Saturday before I'd finished school. Just on a Saturday and a Sunday, I used to travel an hour to go work in my friend's hairdressers and just sort of like, you know, perms and foils and, you know, sort of learning to be around people in the chair and washing hair and things like that, and getting used to being that close to people and working with them and what matters to them and things like that. It's quite good experience.
Probably a useful rite of passage as well, right? It's like, as you're saying, it's that experience with the chair, with someone sitting there interacting with them, like making small talk and stuff like that. A significant part of the job that if you're just doing the training, I suppose you won't get that drilled into you, or the practice, you know.
Communication. So that was good. And then I don't know, I realized the fine art wasn't quite for me, so I went to do beauty therapy at the London School of Beauty Therapy, and they taught us basic makeup. And I wanted to, I think I sort of had an interest in makeup after that. I started to get it. And then I was standing at the front desk, waiting for somebody to give me a pen or something to do like an exam. And a guy came in that was looking for makeup artists. And, I was just standing there and I said, I'll do it. I didn't have a kit or anything. So I went out and bought loads of makeup and then worked on his low budget film for free. And I did a lot of free work on films in the like low budget, you know, industry for a long time.
As everyone does.
Everyone does. And then I realized,
Film and TV Pro, like Mandy.com, those the sort of websites.
I ended up joining those websites. I did a bit of that. And then, it was more like sometimes, like every time I did a job, the same company would call me again to do another job. And then or like somebody that worked on that job, like, you start making contacts and everybody starts remembering your name and starts calling you up for work, and through word of mouth. But then I ended up doing loads of low budget films on these Danny Dyer movies, and I always ended up doing like Danny Dyer films, and then those producers were quite good with me. Like I had a lot of fun working on those films.
Yeah.
And
like the
they
football
were
sort of hooligan
films. Yeah, well, they were like vampire films or zombie films.
Okay.
It was like straight to DVD.
I need to watch some more
Terrible
Danny
movies.
Dyer films by the sounds of it.
No, I actually, because I had a film that went out with the same distributor, now gone bust, as did all the Danny Dyer, those Danny Dyer movies.
Really?
Revolver, yeah. And
that's it.
yeah, there's some interesting stories about that, which probably shouldn't be said on air. But yeah.
We'll talk about that another time. But yeah, got loads of stories. But I met, from working on jobs like that, I met Neil Gorton, who does Doctor who was supplying us with prosthetics like zombie bites or vampire bites and things like that. And he called me and the other makeup artist in for a meeting and said he liked what we did with his prosthetics and would we be employed by him on the next job. And then that's how I ended up working for Millennium FX, doing, Doctor Who and things like that. And that's where I learned to do a lot of wig making as well, and the mold shop and what they do. And I ended up sort of specializing a lot in the hair work side of things and facial hair and the wig work for creatures. And that's how I got recommended for Chewbacca on Star Wars. So,
such a great story, that, Nat. And I think that sense that you kind of had that almost designer's artistic thing going on, as well as the kind of actually the practical sit in a salon and work. And then you almost found a way to fuse that with your nightmares as a child to render that. And then, such a fascinating way in. And, just like we often say at Young Film Academy, kind of find a way. Like there's no one direction. You can't, there's no absolute way to get into this. You've just got to make your own, find a way.
You do,
and you found yours.
Yeah, I did. It was really fun.
So what would be, if you had to go back and give your teenage self, we always end like this, if you give your teenage self, if you could time travel back and whisper in your ear, what would you tell teenage Nat?
I probably would tell teenage Nat to have done hairdressing and maybe also not be so intimidated by other personalities that are really, fighting for their role as well. There's a lot of everybody's very competitive. And sometimes that can lead you to shy away from certain opportunities just so that you can be friends with everybody and not necessarily get the opportunities that are coming your way because you want to please everyone. So it's really important to make sure that you, what you want matters as much as, making sure everybody gets their opportunities. So I think that's really important, your self-worth. And then, I probably also, now I'm working a lot with stunts, wish that I'd have stuck to maybe doing a little bit more gymnastics from early, because if you had more flexibility, you'd have more options to stay fit and be paid to stay fit. That would be great. So yeah.
That's good advice. Let's all do more stunts, people.
More stunts, do stunts. It's really fun.
More stunts.
Ride your horses.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. It's been absolutely brilliant. What a great journey to hear.
Thank you for having me.
Say, your CV is like a nerd's dream. Do you know what I mean?
So it's fun. Oh, everybody should do it. It's fun. I recommend it to everyone.
No, thank you so much, Nat.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to see you.
Genuinely, I don't know if you could feel me at the end, just sort of my nerdology was sort of building up inside of me, like Star Wars, Game of Thrones,
Chewbacca. I know,
Chewbacca,
so great. And it actually reminded me of your the movie that you made set in the caves, and you sort of had an incredible monster. I mean, that monster, but it's really scary. And you've shown me the mask that's used. So you had, but it's like that sense of just creating something from. It's kind of like Play-Doh on steroids. It's just amazing. It's really tactile. It's so much fun, and there's something very pure about Nat's world from a sort of creativity perspective, and I thought it was just super cool.
It's almost like I'm sure it has, and like this is where it would be amazing to go even further into this at some point. It's just that it's one of the purest forms of cinema crafts, I think, that really maybe hasn't changed. I'm sure there's been lots of new technologies or little new techniques and stuff like that, and they probably use slightly different processes, but it's still physically making something that is there on set, you know? Nowadays, yes, there's a layer of CGI that goes over the top, but for the most, the actual craft of what they do is the same, you know?
Yeah, the CGI computer generated imagery sitting on top of some of that to enhance some of it. But yeah, you're right, absolutely. There's still a lot of just old school make it. You know, we want a green monster. Well, let's make a green monster. And you get all those beautiful engineering questions like, you know, well, if it's too hot on set, he's going to melt. And you just get so many fantastic practical things, as well as the team size of these things, Dan. I mean, like, you know, walking onto those sets, it's just like there's hundreds of people working in Game of Thrones behind the scenes. I mean, they're in a warehouse with like 100 makeup stations. I mean, just the sheer scale and volume of this is with my producer's brain on. I'm just like, oh my God, you've got to have everyone ready at the right time for their particular scene.
Game of Thrones is mental as well. I've seen some behind the scenes clips that it makes me want to like take my eyes out genuinely, because I'm watching like videos of them in their production offices. And it's not just all the stuff you're talking about, James. It's not just that. It's then the fact that they are doing it 10 times because they're doing 10 episodes together. And they're doing all those huge things you're talking about with huge crews at multiple locations around the world. So they're in like Dubrovnik, they're in Ireland. I think they're in several other places as well. And the cast and the directors are sort of switching round to all of them. So like they're having to make sure that those people are in the right places at the right time. So they might be doing like episode 7, a scene in Winterfell with certain cast and a director. Then that director's then got to go to Dubrovnik or wherever it is and do their bit with some other actors that they needed to fly from the previous place they were doing. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
and it got more complicated because the moment they could actually fly on dragons, then they could travel a lot quicker, you know?
Yeah, totally. And then you've got that thing which you mentioned about continuity. So continuity on set, continuity is that lovely thing people like to point out. You know, you're cutting in a scene, someone's talking to someone else, and you just intercutting between them, and you realize that the first shot he's got a hair parting one way, and the next shot the hair parting goes the other way. It's a continuity error. And so to avoid that, they have to take all these photographs that they have to cross-reference in each scene. And it was very interesting mentioning that app now that's sort of come about post-COVID, so that actually someone else can jump into your station if you get COVID and can't make it, so that you can sort of swap out and in pretty, you know.
I was immediately thinking like, oh my God, of course they'd have a system for that. But I was like, who came up with that?
Yeah, who made that app?
In films? Who made that? Is someone's like partner who is a coder maybe that heard about what the struggles that was going on set, because they clearly got this thing out quickly, but then it's obviously serving a very niche world, but it's also serving a very sort of big money world. So
totally. You know, you're right. How many users for that app have you got? But they're probably paying you quite a lot for the subscription for your particular app. Yeah. Now I thought that was really interesting, the scale. I mean, I did think that the lifestyle thing, but I mean, I think this is the thing about anything in the film industry or TV, is that, you know, when you're on big stuff, you know, you are living away. It's kind of, you know, you're living in the place where you're shooting for 3, 4, 5 months of your life, with actually all the excitement of that and being part of that world. I mean, it did sound fun. It's like, yeah, well, I'll just go to the bar and hang out with the creature team, you know, it's like, and call it work.
Yeah. 100%. And I'm sure there's some thought process, as she was talking about, you know, between doing dailies or committing to a whole project, where it's like, okay, I maybe after the next thing, I'll take some time off, or I'll just do dailies for a little bit, because you've got to balance it yourself, you know? And that's something that I think is hard when you're sort of new in the industry. You know, you don't want to say no to anything because everything's an opportunity. But at a certain point, you will need to say no and trust that you can get new opportunities. But it always feels like the moment you say no, then like you start shutting doors. And it's a tricky thing to navigate. Find the
work-life balance. But I think, as we've talked about, and we'll continue to talk about in this podcast, is that the idea of a freelance life, i.e. you're choosing, you know, you're not in one job the whole time, you're mixing between different things. And the advantage of that is you can choose, and you can say, well, if I got the opportunity, I'll do 4 or 5 months of this, then I'll actually do nothing for 6 weeks, and then I'll do, you know, whatever. So, because it is well paid. That's the other thing to say about this work. You know, when it comes up, these jobs on these kind of things are really well paid.
Yeah.
And actually, you're working so hard, you probably don't spend very much money.
Because generally, obviously, things are catered for.
They're
If
catered.
you're going away to shoot, your
Accommodations
hotel's
provided.
covered.
Yeah, exactly. And
you're probably still paying rent for wherever you live.
Yeah. But your living expenses are down. But it is important to say that certainly those makeup prosthetics, it is early starts. So
yeah,
you got to be prepared for that and work hard. It's not all playtime. It's really hard work. But it must be so fun to be watching Star Wars and watching Chewbacca and go, yeah, I made Chewbacca.
I think that would be amazing. Do you know what I mean? And to have worked on something that's like in the psyche of so many people's minds and to have been part of that world, I think it's super cool. Super cool.
I thought the soft skills thing was really interesting, that it's actually very much about your relationships that you build with the actors in that world as well. So you've got to be a certain type of person. Like if you don't like small talk and you don't like making people feel kind of good, because that is part of the thing, right? You're working with actors, you want them to feel confident and you need a certain demeanor for that. And it's amazing when you watch these guys working for real, you're like, God, you just make everyone feel so at ease so quickly. Because she's right. It's a refuge, those trailers on sets. They don't feel judged. They come out, the actors, there's a chance for them to bitch a bit, which they do, and complain a bit, which is all part of that natural thing.
100%. It's a double-fold thing, isn't it? It's like you've got a dual responsibility. You've got to get that actor aesthetically ready, but you're also preparing them for the day. And what you do with them in the chair, not just your work, but what you do holistically, is going to also have an impact on screen. So you're actually having two effects on the actor, right? Your work and what you do for them as a human, I think. Oh, what's that noise?
It's a question.
It's a pitch.
It's coming in. It's a
dropping off a message.
Here it is. Your Foley. This is a message from Kenny, who's written in. Kenny's 14 and from Devon. And Kenny asks, I'm making a zombie movie and I want the wounds to look realistic, but I don't have much money at all to spend. How can I achieve good special effects?
We've done some zombie stuff in summer camp before, right?
Yeah, totally. In fact, there is a workshop that we often do each week based on exactly that. It's kind of creating in an hour with materials that we provide that you could get yourself, something that looks really awesome. In fact, quite scary. Genuinely,
it is. It is, because it's during the options, right? And I normally always teach green screen or the options when I teach at summer camp, and you inevitably get just a few zombies that will straggle into the hall because it's where the tuck shop is during the break. So like before we even finish the green screen, just some like zombie looking people sort of just shuffle their way in.
We actually had a moment last year where two girls who'd been to this makeup workshop and had done these really realistic looking gashes all over their head, and they walked into the main administration office where our safeguarding officer is, and they just walked in, and you can see, because it's a big glass room, so these two girls walk in and our safeguarding officer looked at them as they came in, and they got blood coming out of these gashes on their head, and they literally had a sort of almost fell off their chairs. And then the girls were like, "Hey, look at me!" Not quite. They had unwittingly created absolute heart attack.
So the lazy answer to the question is come to summer camp and you can find out. The more sophisticated answer, I suppose. Well, what I can say, I mean, there's degrees of because
you've done zombie movies and all sorts, Dan, haven't you? And trying to get good effects off a budget.
I've never done zombies, James. Funnily enough, it might be one of the few things I've never done. But I have done significant amounts of gore across a lot of my films, and I've had dead bodies, and I've had sort of almost dead bodies. So I've gotten close. I've flirted with zombies, basically, and. Because you can buy these pre-made wound things, but the good ones cost a lot of money. One of the hardest things to do with makeup is blending, I think. Or once you can blend really well, then you are sort of a level that you're going to really make a film great.
What do you mean by blending?
Artists, if you can't blend the prosthetic into the skin, then you're in real trouble because it's going to look like something that's been slapped on top of skin. And that's the number one issue with when you buy cheap ones. Like every now and then you'll see in like Poundland or somewhere like that, oh, here's some wounds for Halloween. but they look like something that's been stuck on top. Like, without the skills, without the expertise of knowing how to layer up latex that has to be done complicated and slowly, it's quite tricky. But there are things you can do with like putty. I think putty is like one of the things that you can use that's sort of
skin color.
Yeah, it's similar to like certainly to pale flesh tones, and what it really does is like even if you get clear one, you can it will build up a bit of shape. And the real solution when you're on no budget, and it's also been a solution for me working with a little bit of budget. But as a last minute, like the prosthetics coming off, we don't have time to send someone back to make up for another half an hour. Like, you've literally got 20 minutes to wrap the scene. You can't factor in an additional half an hour. So you cover it in blood. You just add more fake blood is the solution. In fact, if you don't
covers
even have
a million evils.
Yeah, if you don't even have a prosthetic, just put lots of blood there, but it's going to be so much blood that you can't tell that there's not a wound there. And fake blood is cheap to make at home. Do Google this, but I believe the basis is it's sort of syrup.
Yeah, corn syrup usually, isn't it?
Corn syrup, red food colouring, and something else. I can't remember what else.
But the key is don't use ketchup.
Never use ketchup. Oh my god,
stinks. It looks terrible.
Stinks. Like it is like you think. Oh no, it smells nice. It does not.
Yeah,
when I was at university, someone made ketchup angels on the floor, and if you wonder what a ketchup angel is, it's like a snow angel, except someone did it with ketchup. And it was on the floor.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it is disgusting.
That's absolutely disgusting.
It was. You should have seen that person's dress.
Oh.
It was awful, and we couldn't get the smell out of the room for days.
Yeah.
So don't risk it.
Yeah, and do the thing, because the fake blood recipes that you look up, they'll also be water, because you don't want to make a mess of, if you get it on your clothes or furniture, all that will be washable. So do take care, but have fun with some fake blood, Kenny, and I hope your zombie movie goes well.
100%.
So before we wrap up, I just wanted a final reflection on what Nat was telling us there.
Yeah,
I just thought it was really interesting what she was saying. Well, two things. The first was that thing of you need to almost go on to a set or a thing that's doing the thing that you think you might be interested in order that you can see all the different areas that you probably didn't even know existed within that thing. Because that's how you start to really focus in on what you really want to do. And I thought that was great advice if you can try and do it. And obviously that's not easy to do and you have to work hard to even just get onto these environments. But I thought that was cool. And then the second thing was that if you listen to her career, studied fine art at university and a bit of graphic design, was doing hairdressing on Saturdays to earn a bit of money, and then sort of put those two together. And then she moved into, did some beauty sort of salon work and happened to be in a beauty salon when someone came along and said, "Hey, I need a makeup artist." And she said yes. And then she went out and basically faked it till she maked it. Went out, got her makeup stuff, didn't even own it, bought a few bits, and then she was doing it, then did more of it, then happened to work with prosthetics because of a particular job, and then they liked that, and then she moved to prosthetics. I suppose the lesson I took from that is that you often don't know where you want to end up.
No.
And you've just got to throw yourself in, start, and then things come from that. You progress to another thing, then you meet someone, and then you move in, and then you think, "Oh, I'm interested in that." So it's a journey. We're talking about lives here. We're talking about your whole career, your whole life. So you won't necessarily like a laser focus in on the thing from the beginning, right?
It's trusting the process, right? It's trusting the process.
Yeah.
But trusting the process, as Natalie's proven, I think, doesn't look like sitting there being pensive. It looks like throwing yourself in and giving it a go and really giving it a chance to see if you enjoy it,
Yeah, and saying yes. Imagine she hadn't said yes when the guy walked into that beauty salon and said, "I need a makeup artist," and she could have thought, "Well, I'm not really like a makeup artist for film and television, and I don't have any kit, so I'm going to say no." But she didn't. She said yes, and that's kind of the sliding doors moment, and on and on she's gone to this amazing career working on, the Star Wars and Witcher and Game of Thrones and all those brilliant shows. So it's been brilliant, Dan. Well, thanks so much for for talking that through with Nat. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Learning more about that sort of hidden world. So if you're out there and you're listening and you think, I'm creative, I love working with my hands, I love getting and doing the weird and the wonderful and working in big teams and getting up super early in the morning, this could be for you.
Absolutely. And don't forget to email your questions into podcast@youngfilmacademy.co.uk and we will answer them on a future episode. Thanks very much for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Ciao, ciao.